younger me, I want to tell you something that will change everything. But I know you won't believe me, not yet. Because right now you still think life is linear. That it unfolds the way it's supposed to, as long as you work hard, follow the rules, and keep moving forward. You think meaning is something waiting for you up ahead, just past the next promotion, the next partner, the next win. But I have to warn you, there's a moment coming. It won't be loud, it won't be dramatic. It might even look like success. It might look like you, standing in a room you always dreamed of, surrounded by everything you once thought would make you whole. Job title, nice house, maybe a family, and yet feeling a kind of silence that you can't explain. Not loneliness, not sadness, something deeper. A feeling that despite everything, something is missing. That's the moment I need to prepare you for. It's not a failure, it's not a breakdown, it's a beginning. But it won't feel like that. It'll feel like disorientation. You'll wake up one morning, look in the mirror, and realize you're not chasing a future anymore, you're standing in it. And the life you built, the life that was supposed to mean something, feels like it belongs to someone else. That moment is what people call a midlife crisis. But that name is wrong. It's not a crisis. It's a confrontation with your unlived life. And that's why I brought you some company. Not celebrities, not influencers, thinkers. Souls who wrestled with the same questions you're about to face. Carl Jung, who uncovered the parts of ourselves we hide even from ourselves. Bertrand Russell, who proved that hope is not blind, it's courageous. Friedrich Nietzsche, who saw that our greatest fear isn't weakness, but the fire we've refused to claim. Immanuel Kant, who called us to rise above preference and live with principle. Georg Wilhelm Friedrich Hegel, who exposed the myth of arriving. And Socrates, who warned us the most dangerous man is the one who refuses to question. These voices aren't here to impress you. They're here to wake you up. Because life doesn't begin when you succeed. Life begins the moment you realize success was never the point. And that moment, younger me, is coming sooner than you think. After the mask cracks and your shadow comes calling, something strange happens. You begin to see the world differently. The colors dim. The edges harden. You notice how many people are walking through life numb, angry, checked out. You notice how much noise passes for news, how much fear passes for leadership, how much despair hides behind jokes. And in your darkest moments, you'll start to think, maybe it's all pointless. Maybe I should just protect myself and keep my head down. That's the moment Bertrand Russell would have stepped in, not with a sermon, with a question. Russell wasn't just a philosopher. He was a man who faced down empires with a pen. He was jailed for opposing war, fired for teaching ethics, hated for loving freely. He saw the worst of humanity, bombs, lies, betrayal, and still believed that reason and love could prevail. So not because he was naive, because he chose to believe in what could be, even while standing in what was. Oh, that's not optimism, that's defiance. Russell once wrote, "The good life is one inspired by love and guided by knowledge, not guided by fear, not inspired by bitterness, but love and truth." But that kind of life isn't easy, it takes discipline. Because the world will tempt you to close, to harden, to mock. It will tell you that caring is weakness, that detachment is wisdom, that realism is just another name for giving up. And yet you'll feel it deep in your chest, that pull to stay open. To believe in beauty despite the chaos, to speak with clarity when lies are louder, to build something gentle in a brutal world. That feeling is your resistance, that's your power. Because despair is lazy, cynicism asks nothing, but hope? Hope asks everything. There's a story Russell once told of a young man planting a tree during wartime. When asked why, since bombs might fall at any moment, he simply said, because someone should. That's it. That's the whole philosophy. Younger me, you will one day look at the world and feel the weight of it in your bones. The wars, the divisions, the noise, the apathy. And you will want to shut down. But that's the moment you must wake up. Choose love anyway. Speak truth anyway. Show up anyway. Because the life that matters isn't the one that hides behind cleverness or retreats into irony. It's the one that stays tender even when it hurts. Russell didn't live in comfort, he lived in conviction, and he left behind a life that still echoes because of it. So ask yourself, when your time comes, and will you have chosen the easier path of withdrawal? Or will you have stayed engaged, defiant, hopeful? Because in the end, it's not what we believed in private that shapes the world, it's what we dared to live out loud. And that, younger me, is the kind of man you were always meant to be. Younger me, there's something you need to hear now and you won't want to. The part of you that's restless, uneasy, that can't seem to settle no matter how much you accomplish. That part of you isn't broken, it's powerful, and it's waiting. But here's the truth, no one ever told you. Your greatest fear is not that you're weak, it's that you're powerful beyond anything you've dared to imagine. Friedrich Nietzsche knew this fear intimately, not the fear of death, not the fear of failure, the fear of potential. He believed most people weren't crushed by what they lacked. They were crushed by what they refused to claim. Because power, younger me, is terrifying. Real power, not domination, not control. But the raw energy inside you, the ambition, the rage, the wild hunger to live fully, deeply on your own terms. You've spent years hiding it under good manners and modest goals. You've called it humility or practicality or being realistic. But in truth, it was fear. The fear of who you could become if you stopped asking for permission. Nietzsche saw this in everyone. He called it the tragedy of the last man, the person who shrinks from the edge of greatness and calls it wisdom, who numbs himself with comfort, who trades fire for safety. He survives, but he never burns. Younger me, you were not born to stay lukewarm. There's a moment coming, a moment where the path you're on begins to narrow, where everything starts to feel too small, and you'll try to tell yourself you're just tired, that it's just a phase. But deep down you'll know, you're outgrowing the life you built, and it will terrify you. Because on the other side of that fear is a version of you that is larger, louder, truer, one who speaks boldly, who risks being misunderstood, who dares to want more, not because you're greedy, but because you're alive. And here's the paradox Nietzsche understood. If you deny that version of yourself, if you bury that fire, it won't go away, it will rot. And the rot will turn into bitterness, regret, quiet resentment toward those who dared when you didn't. So how do you claim your power without losing your soul? You start by telling the truth, not just to others, but to yourself. You say, I want more, I'm not satisfied. I'm capable of things I've been too afraid to try. Then you step toward the fire, not recklessly, not all at once, but step by step, you move closer to what scares you, not because it's safe, but because it's sacred. There's an old fable that's older than Nietzsche, the phoenix, a magnificent creature that dies in flame only to rise from its ashes stronger than before. This isn't mythology, it's biography. It's what happens when you let an old identity burn, one built on smallness, on approval, on pretending, and emerge in the truth of your own strength. Younger me, this won't be easy. Some people will say you've changed. They're right. You'll lose things, comfort, agreement, maybe even parts of yourself you thought were essential. But what you gain is the one thing worth everything else, yourself. So the question isn't, what if I fail? It's, what if I never tried? You were not made to coast, you were made to climb. You were not built to impress, you were built to become. And the time to begin is now. Younger me, sooner or later you'll realize that some of the biggest mistakes you made weren't loud or dramatic. They were quiet, moments when you said yes, when everything in your body said no. Times when you smiled politely while something inside you folded. When you let things slide, when you made a choice you could justify but couldn't respect. And that's when you'll start to feel it, that slow, steady ache of self-betrayal. Not because you failed, but because you succeeded on someone else's terms. Immanuel Kant lived for one idea, that a meaningful life is not one of comfort but one of character. He believed morality wasn't a set of rules handed down from the outside. It was something you had to build inside yourself, a compass so steady that even when the world pulled you in every direction, you'd know where true north was. Kant's great challenge wasn't religious. It wasn't political, it was personal love only in ways you would want every other person to live. Not because someone's watching, but because you are. And that younger me is the real test of adulthood. Not whether you can build a life that looks good, but whether you can live a life that feels clean. Because eventually you'll find yourself in a room full of people who respect you, but you won't respect yourself. And that's the loneliest place in the world. We think integrity is dramatic, but it's built in the tiny invisible choices. The phone call you avoid, the truth you soften, the small lie you tell to make things smoother. And each time you do it, something inside you thins. Kant would tell you, don't wait for the world to give you a code. Write your own, but don't write it in convenience. Write it in stone. Ask, what would it look like to live a life I don't have to explain? A life I wouldn't have to defend if someone saw every part of it? That doesn't mean perfection, it means coherence. That who you are in public and who you are in private match. That your values and your actions shake hands in the dark. Because one day you'll be offered a door. It will look like success, money, applause, control, and it will feel almost right, just almost. But almost right is not right. And if you walk through that door, you'll know. Maybe not immediately, but something in you will wince. A part of you will stop singing. And you'll spend the rest of your life trying to drown out the silence. Don't do that. Instead, be the person who walks away, who chooses the narrow path, the honest answer. The decision you can carry without shame. Not because it's easy, but because it's yours. Kant didn't live a flashy life, but he lived a precise one, a principled one, a life he could defend without flinching. And that younger me is the challenge, not just to live a life that succeeds, but a life that stands up under inspection. A life that doesn't need a PR team. A life that holds its own weight. You already know what it looks like. You just have to stop pretending you don't. Because the person you become depends on what you choose when no one is watching. And the most powerful kind of success is this. Being able to look in the mirror, not just at 40, but at the end, and say, I did not betray myself. Younger me, this is the lie they sell you, wrapped in achievement and dipped in praise. That one day, if you work hard enough, if you sacrifice long enough, if you build wisely and plan carefully, you'll arrive. And when you do, everything will click, the noise will stop, the fear will vanish, you'll feel complete. That's the lie. Because what you'll actually feel is emptiness, a strange stillness. A question forming in the back of your mind that you don't want to hear, is this it? Georg Wilhelm Friedrich Hegel saw this long before we had names for it. He called it the myth of the fixed self, the illusion that you are meant to become something final, complete, settled. But you weren't born to arrive. You were born to evolve. Hegel believed that identity isn't a possession, it's a process. A constant tension between who you were, who you are, and who you're becoming. He called this movement the dialectic. But you don't need to remember the term. You already know the feeling. It's what happens when the dream you worked for suddenly feels too small. When the title you chase starts to suffocate you. When the version of yourself that once made perfect sense now feels like a stranger in your own skin. And in that moment, you'll panic. You'll think something's wrong, but nothing is wrong. You're just not finished. The real crisis isn't failure, it's premature success. It's thinking you found the answer when really you've just stopped asking the right questions. Younger me, arrival is a beautiful illusion. It's tidy, it's safe, it makes people feel like they're winning. But it's not where your soul lives. Your soul lives in motion, in contradiction. in shedding the skin of who you used to be so that something deeper can emerge. And yes, it's painful, growth always is. Because becoming someone new means saying goodbye to someone old, even if that someone built the life you now have. But here's the paradox Hegel saw: if you cling too tightly to who you were, you'll never become who you're meant to be. And what once felt like stability will begin to rot slowly, quietly, until one day you don't recognize your own reflection, not because it's unfamiliar, but because it hasn't changed. Younger me, don't let your life become a museum of old victories. Burn the map. Let discomfort be your compass. Because the people who grow old without growing tired, the ones who stay curious, alive, awake, they aren't the ones who arrived early. They're the ones who kept becoming. Younger me, by now you've rebuilt yourself more than once. You've questioned, doubted, torn down old beliefs and replaced them with stronger ones. You've felt the thrill of rising from your own ruins. But I have to warn you, this next danger is subtler than all the others and deadlier. It's certainty. Because at some point you'll feel like you've figured it out. Not everything, but enough. Enough to stop asking. Enough to say, this is who I am. This is what I believe. This is how the world works. That's when it begins, the slow dying. Socrates saw this coming. He warned that the real threat isn't ignorance, it's thinking you know. It's mistaking confidence for clarity, agreement for truth, conviction for wisdom. He called himself the wisest man in Athens, not because he had the answers, but because he knew he didn't. That's the kind of wisdom you need now, because as you grow you'll feel pressure to settle. To build your life like a fortress, walls made of certainty, windows that only face one direction. You'll be praised for it, admired for your convictions. But if you're not careful, you'll become a prisoner of your own foundation. You'll stop learning, you'll stop wondering, you'll start repeating. You'll say things that once came from fire and now come from memory. Younger me, the most dangerous man, is not the one who's lost. It's the one who has stopped looking. And the only way to stay alive, truly alive, is to stay in the question. Ask yourself, even when it feels awkward, especially then, what if I'm wrong? What if there's more? What if the person I'm becoming is no longer compatible with the life I've built? And if the answers scare you, good. That means you're still listening. Socrates died because he wouldn't stop asking questions. But in a way, he never really died. Because questions once asked don't vanish. They echo, they unsettle, they awaken. So younger me, don't become a monument, become a storm, don't become an echo, become a bell. And when they ask why you keep changing, keep digging, keep wondering, just smile. Tell them the truth, because I'm still becoming. Younger me, this isn't where the story ends, it's where it starts for real this time. You've unmasked yourself with Jung, you've reclaimed hope with Russell. You've faced the fire with Nietzsche. You've chosen integrity with Kant. You've let go of a rival with Hegel. And with Socrates, you've returned to the one thing that keeps the soul alive, the courage to keep asking. This is not a motivational ending, this is a threshold. From now on, success won't impress you if it costs you your peace. Power won't tempt you if it disconnects you from your values. Comfort won't seduce you if it means killing your curiosity. Younger me, you no longer need to chase the life you were told to want. Because now you can build the one your soul actually craves. A life that moves, a life that questions, a life that refuses to settle, a life that begins again and again every time you choose to rise. So if you're still here, still watching, still listening, still feeling something stir inside you, then maybe this was meant for you after all. Not as advice, not as a lecture, but as a reminder that your real life, the one that's yours and yours alone, hasn't been waiting at the end of a path. It's been waiting at the edge of your courage, and it begins now.